All right, today we are working on comparing numbers, but before we start, I'm going to kind of combine science in this. So before we start, I kind of want to start the science experiment, okay? So this is going to have to be copied into your notebook, obviously, because we're still using the place value sign. But I wanted you to see part of our experiment today. Let me zoom out. I have this glass bottle and it's filled with ice. It's hard to see, but it's filled with ice. I have a styrofoam cup. I have a paper cup. And I have a glass, well, it's not a cup, but it is. Glass cup. Okay, I'm going to pour ice into all three of these. So I want you to tell me which one's going to melt fastest. So I've got my styrofoam cup, my paper cup, my glass cup. I'm going to put the same amount of ice in each one, and I want to know what is going to, so make your guess in your notebook, what is going to melt the fastest? Will it be styrofoam? Will it be paper? Or will it be glass? So I've got paper, glass, styrofoam. Okay? You make your guess and we will take a look at it when we're done. I wanted to give it enough time to melt. Okay? So we are going to go ahead and get started in math. So if you could be so kind as to write your place value chart, millions, hundreds, 100,000, 10,000, thousands, hundreds, tens, ones. And I'm going to give you two numbers, and I want you, we're going to start with where we need to actually put these numbers on the place value chart. So I have, let's see, $1,307.98 versus 1703. Okay, and I'm going to have Bryson enter. So those are the two numbers that I'm comparing. Now I know some of you have already done this work, but we are still going to be working on this in their notebooks. So make sure you're doing this in your notebook, okay? In your notebook, where should I start? So if I'm looking at these two numbers, what is the first thing I should do? Looking at these two numbers, Maddie, what's the first thing I should do?
Put them on the chart.
There you go. Put my numbers on the chart. And I'm going to abbreviate. Put numbers on chart. Good. And the reason that I'm telling you to put the numbers on the chart is to make your life easier. It's easier to compare the numbers when you know where they fit on a chart. So if you don't have a chart, you can make your own. Obviously, we've been doing it for a while, but if you have a chart and I give it to you, start it on the chart. So, on the chart, where do I start with my number? Where does Ms. Shattuck always tell you to start? To put your numbers on, where should you start? AJ.
To the left of the decimal.
Right. So we start actually at the decimal point, and then once we start at the decimal point, we can go from there. So start at decimal. Okay. So I'm going to start with my first number. I've got 98 this way, and then I'll work backwards. 7031. And then I can do the same thing here. 98. 3071. Once I have my numbers on the chart, so I put my numbers on the chart, I start at the decimal. What do I do next? What would I do next to compare numbers? Compare numbers. What do I do next for comparing numbers? Anybody have an idea? What would I do next to compare numbers? Nobody has an idea? Want to take a guess? You're comparing two numbers. Gabby, what would you do?
I would start at the decimal point and I would see if they're different or the same, and I would work to thousands.
Okay, I like your idea of starting at the decimal point, but in this case, you're not going to start at the decimal point. We are going to start where, Holly?
You would start in either the ones or the thousands.
Well, you got to pick one. Is it the ones or the thousands?
Finish this one. I would start in the thousands.
You are correct. You would start the farthest left. You're going to start farthest left, and you're going to compare left to right. We read left to right. We do math left to right. Start left to right. The only reason I have you put your numbers on right here in starting at the decimal point is because it's easier for you to put them in the correct way because you have a starting point. Always start there. But when you're comparing numbers, you're going to start here and you're going to go that way. And the reason you're going to start there is because it's easier to start there. We do math left to right. We do reading left to right. That's how we start. So once I start, I have to compare. Oh, sorry, my speaker just fell off. I'm going to then compare numbers. And I'm going to cross them off as I go. I'm going to make my life easier. 1 versus 1. The digits the same is the value the same. Yes, so I can't use it, right? There's no difference there. So then I go to this one. Oh, I got the values the same, the digits are different. So, is the 3 bigger or smaller than the 7? If it's bigger, give me thumbs up. If it's smaller, give me thumbs down. Is the 3 bigger or smaller? Bigger is thumbs up. Smaller is thumbs down. Good. The 3 is smaller. So then I know I'm looking for this. I can say that the 3 is smaller than the 7. So I compare my numbers and then I have to determine what's greater. Okay, make sure you have that particular part written in your notes so you have the step-by-step of how to complete your math. If you do, give me another chart, and it's going to be your turn. Give me another chart, and it's going to be your turn. I'll give you a minute to get the chart. That'll give me time to write the numbers down for you. Okay. If you haven't gotten this, take a snapshot of it, please. If you haven't, I'm going to move on. I'll give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. All right. I have a new chart, and I have my numbers here. I want you to compare the numbers. So, write down your new numbers. Write down your new numbers. Remember, we start at the decimal point. Okay, I see many of you writing down our numbers, so I'm going to start at the decimal point, and I'm going to write my numbers down. So I'm going to start with the one on the left, because we start left to right. I'm going to put my commas in here. Okay. And then I'm going to start with my other number. Now I'm doing all of this before I compare anything. And the reason I do it before I compare anything is so that I have everything lined up the correct way. Everything needs to be lined up the correct way. All right, I want you to compare the two numbers in your notebook, and I want you to write the answer in your chat. Compare the two numbers, write the answer in your chat. Which one is bigger? Which number is bigger? Which number is bigger? If we were to go through and cross out starting in left, all of those numbers are the same, but you can see that this is different. The digit's different. The 5 is bigger than the 4, which means that this bottom one makes that top one. This is bigger than this. All right, do it again. Give me another chart. And I keep having you make these charts because I want you to get used to making these charts, because on your EOGs, on your tests and things like that, there is nothing to stop you. So when I ask you to show your work on a math test or math benchmark or math EOG, this is what I'm asking you to do. Write it out. Don't just give me an answer. Write it out. So get your chart written in.
What if the answer is correct?
I still want to see your work, because what if you guessed and you got the correct answer? That doesn't tell me what you did. It just tells me that you can guess really well. Do the work. Okay, my new chart. I've lost my paper. All right, give me 1 second. Let's see. I've got two numbers that I'm going to give you again. All right, I've got two numbers here. 76,359 and 58 hundredths. 76,359 and 5 tenths. I need you to compare, and I want to see what you come up with inside the chat box. So you are comparing your two numbers. Start at the decimal point. Build it off from there, and then compare the two numbers. I will give you a moment to do just that. Show me in the chat. Continue on. So we are going good, Kim. We are going to start at the decimal point, and I'm going to go left and right on it. So I've got 58 here, and I've got 953, 6, 7, and then I've got 5 here, and I've got 953, 6, 7. And the same thing, I start all the way to the left, and I'm going to go ahead and start comparing. So my 7 and my 7 are the same. My 6 and my 6 are the same. My 3 and my 3, and I just keep going until I find something that's not the same. Well, in this case, I've got an 8, and there's nothing in there. What would the digit be if I put something in there? Who can tell me what the digit would be if I were to put something in there? Gabby.
It would be 0.
You're right, it would be 0. So I'm going to put that 0 in there because that helps me figure out which is bigger. Which is bigger, the 8 or the 0? You got it. Thanks, Gabby. The 8
doesn't have a
The 8 is bigger than the 0. So, because of that, 58/100ths is bigger than 50/100ths. Then because of that, your 76,359 and 58/100ths is going to be bigger. So if there is a 0 missing, put it in there. You can put it before, you can put it after, but you can put the 0 in there because the 0's value is nothing in the hundredths. It's just the digit 0. Good. Last chart. And then we'll check our science experiment. Get your chart written in. Hopefully you can see all that. Get your chart written in. Don't write this down yet. Okay? Don't write that down yet. Just get your chart written in, and then I'll explain how to do the rest. Okay, remember that as you are writing this chart down and you're writing it in, you are giving yourself 3 numbers because there are 3 numbers in here. If there were 5 numbers, you'd have 5 rows. So make sure that you are writing down that you have 3 rows in there. Okay, this looks very similar to your schoolwork today. Okay, it gives you 3 running times, and if you look at it over here, you've got 3 different running times. And it's asking you to put them in the table in order from least to greatest. Least to greatest. So I'm going to show you those numbers. And you're going to put them in. Don't put them on this chart, least to greatest. It goes in here, least to greatest. Put them on this chart the way they are in here. Okay? So we start at the decimal because that's the easiest to start with. And I'm going to put 318 here. Sorry, 318 there. And then 407 goes over there. So that's my first one. And I'm just going to kind of mark it off because I put it on the chart. That way I know. Okay, this one is 031. And this one is 407. And then once again, we have 381 and 407. So I've got all 3 numbers up there that I am going to compare. Give me thumbs up that you are ready. I know some of you are, and some of you are still writing. I can see it. Thanks, Holly. Bryson and Jacob, I need to see your faces too. Thank you, Bryson. Keep your computers on.
Should we do the least to greatest?
No, we're going to compare them, and then you can put them in least to greatest.
Okay.
I appreciate your tenacity. All right. We are going to go through them. So we know that in the 100 spot, we all have 4s. This part's pretty easy. It's just a matter of matching. 407. Those are all the same. And then we go and we've got 2 numbers that are the same and 1 number that's different. Is the 3 bigger or smaller? Or I should say, is the 0 bigger or smaller than the 3? If it's bigger, give me thumbs up. If it's smaller than the 3, give me thumbs down. Good. It's smaller than the 3, which means that this one should be number 1. So 407.031. And then I'm going to go like that and cross it right off because I'm no longer comparing that number. So I'm going to get it right out of my way. So now I can see that my 3 and my 3 are the same. And now I come to the next one and I've got a 1 and an 8. No longer comparing the one in the middle. I've got a 1 and an 8. So is the 1 bigger or smaller than the 8? If it's bigger, give me a thumbs up. If it's smaller, give me a thumbs down. Smaller. So we're going to go with that one. Remember, it's least to greatest. So that's my next least. So I've got 407 318 thousandths. So I'm going to cross that guy off, which only leaves me with the last one. 407 381 thousandths. I have now put them in order from least to greatest based on that. If you cross it off, it's like a reminder that I've already used it. So that's one of my strategies that I use. All right. Before I go any further, I lost my paper again. Everybody got this right here? Okay. Take a picture if you don't, Xavier. And I can put it back up in a second. All right. I want you to draw your, first things you do, draw your chart. So first thing you do, draw your chart. Sorry, I'll move that out. Draw your chart. If there's no chart, start by drawing it. The second thing you do is starting at decimal, put numbers on chart. And then once you put your numbers on the chart, you can start at the left. Please mute. Thanks. Start farthest left and compare numbers. Bryson, I need you to join us, which means that I need to see your face. Jacob, same thing. Was the only other answer. Okay, so let's go back through this. So I start by drawing my chart. So I have my chart like this, and I have where I put my decimal point, right? And I'm going to go right to left. So I've got my 3 and my 0 over here. And I've got my 3 and my 0. Put your lines in to start left to right. So I've got a 7, a 5, and a 2. And then I've got a 3 and a 6. Notice that I don't have a very big chart. I don't have a very big chart. And there's a reason I don't have a very big chart. Because I don't need all the parts of the chart. I only need these parts, okay? And if I go one number this way, one number this way, I can add my lines in. And once I add my lines in, now I can tell you right off the bat which one's bigger without even thinking. I can look at that and say, well, there's a 0 here and there's a 2 here. So I automatically know it's going to be 257 and 30 hundredths, okay? I know that just by building my own chart. Does everybody understand? Okay, questions? Questions? Okay, no questions at this time. Perfect. All right, so what is going to happen?